Hello, my dear students. Hope you are all doing well. Today, I am going to discuss a very important topic and very important theme with all of you, and I hope that you are gonna like my lecture. And the theme of my lecture is the title of my lecture is Understanding Liberty from Political Thinkers' Point of View. That what actually the different political philosophers, different political thinkers who are very prominent ones, how they are looking at the principle of liberty. So, from philosophical point of view, from their from the ideas, taking into consideration the ideas of number of philosophers, number of political thinkers, and how they are looking at the principle of liberty from their own point of view. So, let's begin my lecture without wasting much of the time. So. First, I am going to tell you, what actually the liberty, what do we understand by by the question of liberty, by the point of liberty, when we are trying to make raise queries about the issue of liberty. Since I have already discussed the issue of negative and positive liberty in my previous lecture, but today's lecture is going to be somehow trying to discuss different ideas and different notions given by or advocated by different philosophers or different political thinkers. And but let me just tell you, when we want to understand the notion of liberty, what we mean by it, we mean by it three things. One is the notion of choice. That is that everybody is free to make his or her choice, and that is what is important once we are trying to discuss or elucidate or unravel the issue of liberty. That every one of us has a right to choice, and that is very important. And the second thing is that the absence of constraints to make and exercise such choice, that there should not be many problems or preventions, that when it comes to to somebody, that he needs to enjoy his liberty or his freedom. uh, the existence of conditions that enable you to actuate the choice. So this is here, it is about the state regulations, because state is a necessary evil. State is important for the purpose to regulate the behavior of the people. From that point of view, we can say the existence conditions that enable you to actuate that choice, that whether or not the state's intervention is important, it is necessary, when it comes to that, when somebody is trying to enjoy his liberty, and if he's trying to enjoy his liberty, but the question can be raised to what extent he's going to enjoy that. We can't say that liberty is licensed, but state regulations, the state's conditions becomes very important, to actuate your choice, to actuate your liberty, your freedom. So these are the three important trajectories and the important principles which the connotations of the liberty. One is the notion of choice, the second is the absence of constraints to make and exercise such choice, and third is the existence of conditions that enable you to actuate the choice. And let's go to point of view what has been said by the Thomas Hobbes. The Thomas Hobbes actually makes it very clear that it is the fear and necessity which is actually the motivating factors, which leads to human beings, that they are actually going for the option of liberty. That it is because of the fear, it is because of the necessity, that because of these two important elements, that the human beings are compelled, or these are the driving factors actually, which are actually motivating human beings to to think about their liberty. Uh, then let's go to John Locke. How John Locke, what he thinks about the liberty. John Locke says that everyone is bound to preserve himself. So he is very much a supporter of the, or he is the great supporter of the individual liberty, or that's why he says. everyone is bound to preserve himself. And he further says that what he actually mean by the by the liberty. He says freedom is not to fly like a bird, but will seek the freedom to be heard even if in a minority. That means you, even though if you are not in a majority, or you are not in a big group, rather if you are alone, or but your statement is important, and there is a need that your that statement and your that point of view and your liberty must be heard, your freedom must be heard. So it is not, the freedom is not like to fly like a bird, but will seek the freedom to be heard even if in a minority. If you are in a minority, and but your statement matters, but and then there is an requirement that your that voice should be, it must have some value, uh, you know then let's go to Rousseau, and Rousseau says freedom as a collective venture, freeing oneself from selfish motives towards a larger good for the entire group. If you see the Rousseau, he says that freedom is something where we are trying to find out. It should be used for the collective venture. It is a collective venture, and it is freeing oneself from selfish motives. That he is saying that one should not become self-centered or egoistic. Rather than while enjoying one's freedom, he must always think that the larger good, or for the entire group, or the larger interest of the people. And then there is a Bentham, and when he's trying to illustrate or elucidate the question of liberty, his understanding of liberty is that freedom is about seeking pleasure and avoiding pain. That means it is trying to achieve more and more pleasure, and trying to avoid the pain element, because it is in human nature that the human beings, they want to achieve more and more pleasure. And it depends, how the human beings are interested in what area. Some people may be interested in reading, and that gives them pleasure. Some people are interested to go for traveling, to tour, and maybe that is going to give them that pleasure. Some people may have their interest in worship, or prayer, and that prayer gives them pleasure. And so therefore it depends, it differs from person to person. And freedom is about seeking pleasure and avoiding pain. And it is also human instinct that every one of us, every human being, wants to avoid pain. He doesn't wants to see the pain too much, because it hurts. It suppresses him, or it creates a different mode, and he feels sad, and that is not good. When we want to discuss the issue of liberty from the point of Benthamite's point of view, that it is about greatest happiness of the greatest number of people. Freedom is about seeking pleasure and avoiding pain. And let's go directly to John Stuart Mill, how he thinks freedom as an individuality was prerequisite for the cultivation of self. So, if you see the how the John Stuart Mill has talked about, advocated the issue of liberty, and he raised very genuine, queries, and very important questions related to the human dignity and individuality, the individual's rights. He was talking about a lot of his points about his theory is about more about the individual rights. And therefore he says that it is very important that we have to recognize what are the basic rights of the individuals. And we have the freedom of individuality was prerequisite for the cultivation of self. So if human beings wants to develop themselves, if they want to grow up, individuals want to grow up, so therefore the freedom becomes very important, it becomes very essential, it becomes very mandatory for them. And therefore we can say when so but once the John Stuart Mill is also he has discussed the negative liberty point of view. He is also the first one who has described in detailed manner the positive concept of the liberty. And when he is talking about the liberty, freedom, he says the freedom of thought is very important. Freedom of thought, freedom of debate and discussion is very important. And individuality, he is the principle of individuality is also the second important element. That the third one is the limits of authority. That why do we need the authority or the state interference? That is important, but that has to be limited, that has to be minimal. uh, then there is a John Locke's point of view. Everyone is bound to preserve himself, or not like a bird, but will seek the freedom to be heard, even in a minority. Uh, Developed development and civilization. He's also, the John Locke is also trying to tell us the very important point of view, that you should not fly like a bird, but will seek the freedom to be heard, even if you are in minority. So he makes a sense that even though if you are not in majority, you are in minority, but your statement matters. Then we have to understand that important. We have to recognize the importance of your statement or your argument, and your freedom. So even though if you are alone, then also there are two. Once we are trying to understand the question of you know once we are trying to understand the question of liberty, then there are two things which are very important. Is actually uh, One is freedom, equality, or as a quality of human being. Then the second one is freedom as a quality of human being, and freedom as a human condition. So, freedom as a quality of human being means that fulfillment of human purposes and attaining laws of nature. So, this is about the individuals should be free. The people should be free uh, to fulfill their purposes by attaining laws of nature. Because when we see the human beings, they are Homo sapiens. They have the capacity of reasoning and rationality, and which creates a lot of difference. And it differs from human beings from the animal kingdom, this reasoning capacity, this rationality capacity. This sense experience actually. So that makes a sense, because and then also it is for the purpose of development and civilization and culture. And state must respect that thing, because as a quality of human being, the human beings use the freedom as a quality of human beings, because they are Homo sapiens, they are rational animals, and they have this rationality, and they have the sense experience. They know what is good and what is bad for them. And therefore, and this is more important, they understand the laws of the nature. And it is important, this understanding is important for the development purpose, for the development of civilization, as well as for the development of cultures. Then there is another point of view. If we want to understand the freedom from the another point of view, is that is freedom as a human condition. What does it mean? Ability to fulfill one's self-appointed goals. It means that individual must have a freedom to grow up. And when it comes to his personality development, when it comes to for his overall growth in all the walks of life. So state should not have too much interference when it comes to the individual's personality growth and personality development. Rather than a state must create that kind of apparatus. And that means state must create the welfare state kind of apparatus, so that it will recognize what it will support actually the individual's rights and individual freedom. And so the welfare state is very important for the purpose to give to respect the individual freedom, individual rights. And it will also create a limited government. And there will be less interference from the state. So when it comes to the freedom as a human condition, that means the individual should be free. It is a kind of ability to fulfill one's self-appointed goals. That means individuals should be free to think about their life, personality development, and state must recognize that thing, and there should not state should not too much interfere in this regard. And thank you so much for hearing my lecture. See you next time. Take care of yourself.